The Ola is a tribute to the many roles a woman embraces. From caring for a home or nurturing a newborn, dressing up with confidence, or tackling everyday tasks like grocery shopping. You can sew it as a button down for easy nursing access, or a blouse to pair it with your favorite pants, or a midi dress for effortless lounging. You can also make it short for a trip to the farmer's market. This simple yet versatile sewing project allows you to create multiple variations of the Ola pattern. For a matching look, you can pair it with the Ola Mini for girls. Views A and C are beginner friendly, and if you want to take a next step, I would sew view B, learning how to do buttons and buttonholes. This video is going to walk you through all of the views. So at the top right hand corner, you will see what view I'm sewing, so you can follow along. You can find the pattern in the description of this video, so let's get started. You're going to begin by preparing your fabric and washing it, drying it, and ironing it, and determine the size that you will be making. Using a water-soluble pen or chalk, you can transfer all the markings from your pattern to your fabric. All seam allowances are included in the pattern. For first, you're going to grab the front bodice piece while it is still folded and make a small notch at the fold mark to where the front V-neck placket will be. Now we're going to prepare the ties. Fold the tie in half lengthwise with wrong sides together and press to create a center crease. Unfold this and fold each long edge in toward the center crease. Wrong sides together so they meet in the middle. Fold the short ends of the tie in towards the wrong side by 1/4 of an inch. Press in place. At one end, fold the long edge in as it was before, and then fold the short edge down. Fold the long raw edge in towards the center again, and then fold it all in place, sandwiching it neatly together between the fold. This will tuck in the raw edges neatly and it'll make everything stay in place while you're sewing. Press it well and then take it to your sewing machine and sew close to the open-ended edge along the entire length of the tie to secure. Unfold the front bodice piece and lay it right side up in front of you. Now take the front placket and fold it in half lengthwise. On the wrong side of the placket, draw a line down the center using chalk or a water-soluble pen. Align the center line with the corresponding center fold line on the front bodice piece. Place the placket and bodice right sides together and pin in place. Take this to your sewing machine and sew an 1/8 inch to the left of the line. Keep sewing along the line until you reach the end. Now pivot 90 degrees to stitch 2 stitches until you are an 1/8 of an inch to the other side of the line. Pivot again and finish sewing parallel to the chalk line. Now grab your scissors and carefully cut down the chalk line until you reach the stitches. Careful not to clip the stitch. Fold the placket towards the wrong side of the bodice and press with an iron. Fully fold the placket to the wrong side and press until it is lying flat. You may need to spend some extra time here to make sure the fabric isn't pulling at the V shape. Fold the sides of the placket under 1/4 of an inch and press. Fold the bottom of the placket under to create a clean finish and press. Pin this all in place and top stitch at 1/4 inch seam allowance around the placket. To prepare the front button placket, you're going to take your interface piecing and line it up where it is marked on your pattern piece where the buttons and buttonholes go. You're going to line this and press it in place, and then take the center front edge and fold it towards the wrong side, 1/4 inch, and press. Fold it once more to enclose the interfacing and press. Now grab your sleeves. Right sides facing, pin the armhole curves to the front bodice piece curves, remembering to match the notches. One notch indicates the front bodice and the double notch matches the back bodice. With the right sides together, pin the sleeve curves to the back bodice curves. Repeat this process for the other sleeves and back bodice pieces, and then sew at a 1/2 inch seam allowance. Finish the seams with a serger or a zigzag stitch and press towards the back bodice piece. Now we're going to gather the neckline. Starting at the V-neck placket, sew 2 gather stitch rows, moving your stitch length to the highest your machine will allow. Now leave extra threads to create leverage to pull the gathers together. Hold the threads in one hand and the fabric in the other. Gently gather the entire dress together, going slow, especially over the seams, because you don't want the threads to break. Now we're going to attach the neckband. Fold the neckband in half lengthwise with the wrong sides together and press to create a center crease. Unfold and fold each long edge in towards the center crease, wrong sides together so they meet in the middle. Now press. Place your garment on a flat surface with the right sides facing up. Spread it out in a circle so the neckline is fully visible. You'll have it all fanned out in front of you. Take your neckband and place it right sides together with the garment. Pin one end of the neckband to the other side of the V-neck, leaving about an inch hanging past the edge. Pin the other end of the neckband to the other side of the V-neck in the same way. Now work your way around the rest of the neckline, pinning the neckline along the gathered edge, one section at a time. Move and adjust the gathers as needed so they are evenly spaced and the neckband fits smoothly all the way around. Here is a tip. It helps find the center of the neckband and the center neckline and pin those together first after you do the corners. Then you can pin between the center and ends for even spacing. Before sewing the neckband in place, pin your ties to the edge of the V-neck. Slide each tie between the neckband and the gathered edge at the point where the V-neck begins. Make sure the raw end of each tie is tucked inside and the rest of the tie is pointing inward, away from the edge. Pin in place. Now with the right sides together, sew the neckband to the neckline using a 1/2 inch seam allowance. I recommend placing the neckband side down against the sewing machine because this helps you see and manage the gathered fabric more easily as you sew. Press the seam allowance up towards the neckband, away from the gathers. Now take the free edge of the neckband, fold it over the seam and gathers, enclosing them. Fold again along the previously pressed edge so the raw edge is fully hidden inside. Press this in place. Now you can finish the neckband in one of two ways. You can hand stitch it using a slip stitch or a ladder stitch along the inside edge for a clean and visible stitch. I like to do this if I'm wanting a really nice professional finish and I don't feel confident about stitching in the ditch. The next option is stitching in the ditch, which means you are going to sew from the right side of the garment directly in the seam line or the ditch where the neckband meets the garment. So this will catch the inside fold of the neckband and secure it in place. If you're going to use this method, use a lot of pins to hold the folded neckband in place evenly all the way around before stitching. And I also like to use this little presser foot that is really helpful to guide my fabric through the sewing machine. Both of these methods take about the same time for me because I really like to take extra time pinning the neckline in place if I'm going to sew it with my machine. So choose which one you feel comfortable with. Now, if you are adding a pocket, find the markings for the top of the pocket. These are located along the side edges of the front and back bodice pieces. With the right sides together, pin one pocket piece to each side of the front bodice, aligning the top edge of the pocket with the marking. Do the same for the back bodice. You should have 4 pocket pieces total, one on each side of the front and back bodice. Now sew each pocket to the bodice using a 1/4 inch seam allowance along the straight edge where you pinned. Repeat this for all 4 pockets. Use a serger or zigzag stitch along the raw edges of the seam you just sewed. Now press each pocket piece away from the bodice so it is laying flat and open. Sew a line of stitching 1/8 inch from the seam on the pocket side. This will keep the pocket opening from rolling to the outside of the garment. Now let's sew at the side seams. Turn the garment so the right sides are facing each other. Line up the sleeve seams, underarm seams, side seams, and pocket pieces if sewing pockets. Starting at the sleeve edge, pin along the underarm and down the side seam. When you reach the pockets, make sure the front and back pocket pieces are lined up with each other. Pin all the way around the pocket bag and then continue pinning down to the bottom hem. Starting at the end of the sleeve, sew down the side seam around the pocket and down to the hem using a 1/2 inch seam allowance. Go slowly around the pocket curve to keep your stitching neat. Now finish the raw edges with a serger or zigzag stitch and press the seams to the back. Now finish the sleeves. Fold the cuff in half and sew the short ends together using a 1/2 inch seam allowance, and repeat this for the other cuff. Gather the sleeve openings, following the same gathering instructions for the neckline. With right sides together, pin one cuff to a gathered sleeve opening. Match the cuff seam to the sleeve seam and adjust the gathers evenly to fit the cuff. Sew around the sleeve opening with a 1/2 inch seam allowance. Repeat this for the other sleeve. Fold the raw edge of the cuff under by a 1/4 inch and press. Then fold the cuff up and over the seam, enclosing the gathers inside. The folded edge should cover the seam line. And now pin this in place. You can finish this like you did the neckline by hand stitching or stitching in the ditch with a sewing machine. Now to hem the dress and finish it off. With the dress still inside out, fold the raw bottom edge up towards the wrong side 1/4 inch and press. Then fold it again 1 inch to enclose the raw edge. Press well to create a clean, crisp finish. Pin the folded hem in place all the way around, making sure the second fold is even, and stitch close to the inner folded edge using a straight stitch. Go slowly to keep your stitching even and catching the full fold all the way around. Turn the garment right side out, give it a good final press, trim off any loose threads, and now your Ola is complete. To hem the dress with a nice clean finish, we're going to do it a little bit different than view A and C. With the dress inside out, fold the raw bottom edge up 1/4 inch and press it with your iron. Next, fold the hem up again by 1 inch towards the right side and press this in place. Make sure the button placket is folded outward and stitch close to the folded edge parallel to the hem and press. You're going to stitch right across the placket only. Now turn the hem right side out so the dress is all right side out and press the hem flat. This technique will create a clean, sharp corner and a professional finish. Next, make sure you transferred all of your buttonhole and button markings to the bodice piece and sew the buttonholes on the right bodice placket. Use your sewing machine's buttonhole foot and follow the manufacturer's instructions for placement and stitching. To open the buttonholes, place a pin horizontally across the top of the buttonhole to prevent cutting too far. Then carefully use a seam ripper to open the hole and apply fray check to each buttonhole for a neat, durable finish.